Hello. I wasn't going to do a coffee and a chat this week, but I've just watched Pete from Show Me Slot Cars video about magnets. And when I made a comment, he said, when I said in the video that some people would probably disagree with me, you were the person I had in mind. So based on that, yes, I do disagree with some aspects of Pete's video. And rather than type it out, I thought I'd explain it like this. So, a little bit of a change. I've got the laptop here. I'm going to watch Pete's video and I'll cut in some little bits of the segment and I'll stop it now and then and tell you why I disagree.
Slot car advice and opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one.
Yes.
And they all are very specific to the person providing them. What did you think I was going to say? Since the Discord server and Saturday...
And now he does a little bit of a preamble as to why he's doing this series that he's calling My Hobby My Way, Your Hobby Your Way. And that's great.
And Saturday show has started to take off. I've been exposed to more and more questions being asked about our hobby, and of course, advice and opinions being provided in answers to those questions. This is absolutely fantastic, and one of the main reasons we started the show and the Discord. While these tidbits of information might be extremely helpful for some people, others might get pointed in the wrong direction.
And I think possibly Pete's video is contributing to people being pointed in the wrong direction. I will explain why as we go along.
Instead of sharing my opinions as fact or explaining why half of the community is completely wrong, I want to show both sides of these issues and explain why
I'm not sure I've ever seen anybody tell half the community that they're wrong. Apart from now.
Most people either pro-magnets in the car or very anti-magnets in the car.
I think this is where it starts to go wrong, because I don't believe anybody is that binary about their magnets. I'm not that binary about my magnets. So I've got a load of these VW buses. With one exception, because I was just trying something, they've all got all the magnets in, because you'd be mad to take the magnets out of these and try and run them. It would not be enjoyable. So even I don't have a binary viewpoint on magnets. I think most people have a viewpoint on magnets that take them out if you don't need them. And a lot of the cars that I buy, Revo slots, the BRMs, things like that, don't even come with a magnet fitted. It's rattling around in the bottom of the box if you want it. I don't put it in because I don't feel the car needs it. That may not be the same case with something like this, or indeed something like one of these new next-gen NAS cars from Carrera. We'll carry on.
Both sides of the argument have strong, valid points about why they do it one way or the other. To be honest, I've dabbled in both. And while I wish I could run no mag on my track...
Please note, Pete says here that he wishes he could run no mag on his track. But he then says he can't.
It just doesn't work well for my situation. Now, for the breakdown.
The breakdown.
The entire premise behind removing magnets from a slot car is that the magnetic downforce on the car can A, hide imperfections in the setup and tuning of the car.
It can. Assuming that there aren't any imperfections in the tuning and the setup of the car, it will slow it down instead, because the magnet sticks to the track and causes drag, which puts a strain on the motor, which means the car is running slower. It's not just about imperfection.
B, cause more violent crashes when the car does eventually deslot.
Yes, I've never had to glue a wing back on any car that I've taken a magnet out of. Just doesn't happen anymore.
And C, create unrealistic driving styles.
In some cases. Again, I don't believe that magnets and realism are a binary thing. For example, if I had a Ford Capri, knowing how a Ford Capri drives, realistically, I want to take the magnets out of this and let it be tail happy. Conversely, if I had a Formula One car, there's probably not enough magnets in it. You might want to actually add more magnets to make it more realistic. Because Formula One cars these days do not drift round corners at all. You wouldn't want that to happen. You want it just to stick like brown stuff to a blanket. So it's not an either or choice globally across your collection of slot cars. Just isn't. I'm sorry.
Now, there is no reasonable argument that removing these three issues would be an advantage to all slot car enthusiasts. We all want well-tuned cars that do not break when they crash and look and feel more like real race cars. No argument from me there. However, even though those benefits are essentially undisputable, there is one genuine reason to keep the magnets in. And that is why every single one of my cars has had the magnets reinstalled.
So note here, Pete is saying he'd love to run with no magnets, but he has a reason why he's put every single magnet back in every single car.
If, like me, the majority of the racers that visit your track are novices racing your cars, then leaving the magnets in might be the best option for you. Hiding imperfections in the setup and tuning might be a benefit for you if you're the only one tuning cars for your race night.
No, definitely wrong. If you are somebody who likes to run your cars with a magnet, but you, as Pete says, want to tune your car and run it with a magnet, tuning your car with the magnet in is definitely wrong because, as Pete says, the magnet will hide the imperfections in the car. The act of tuning a car is to remove the imperfections, to true the tyres, to grease the axles and make sure they run better, to maybe glue the bushings down so the axle doesn't move about inside the car. All of those things, the effects of the defects in the car are hidden by the magnet. If you're trying to tune a car with a magnet in, you're not really tuning the car. If you were to tune the car, and as horrible as it may drive at the end of it, without the magnet in, you've tuned all the defects out of the car. Once it's running smooth, even if it's fishtailing everywhere, you have taken all the defects out. If you then put the magnet back in, that car will run 10 times better than if you tuned it with the magnet in the first place.
More violent crashes might be the highlight of some visitors' enjoyment of the race.
Yes, it might. And that is why I've got cheap, durable cars that I can let beginners play with. When they get a little bit better, I give them another, not quite so cheap, just as durable car that they can play with. If they get the hang of it, and this one's got no magnet in it, then they can run any car. But I'm not going to give somebody £100 worth of no magnet car and let them smash it into the scenery for fun. That's madness. Why would I do that?
Take, for example, the undisputed success of Harry's crash cam videos. Just like in real life, it's in our nature as humans to enjoy watching carnage. And finally, Unrealistic driving often means that the cars tend to stay in the slot longer when a novice has the controller in their hands.
Interestingly, all my friends that come round that you would describe as novices used to do slot cars back in the day. And when they first started coming round, I had the magnets in all my cars. And they were the ones that said to me, we never had magnets in our day, you need to take them out. So I did. Very recently, my friend Tim came round with his 5-year-old daughter. We were all having a bit of a day playing with the Capris, because we've got 4 digital ones. We can do racing all together at the same time. And Tim's 5-year-old daughter, we gave her one of these with no magnet in it and a controller. She'd never driven a slot car before, so she didn't know what a slot car with a magnet in it was like. She drove this pretty much just as well as the rest of us.
Don't get me wrong, I realize that learning to drive the cars without magnets can teach better control of the car and will eventually lead to fewer crashes and more competitive racing. But if the person holding the controller only gets the opportunity to do so a few times a year, then leaving the magnets in the cars can do some heavy lifting towards the enjoyment of novices on your track.
And this is the point I'm really getting to. Pete says, do your hobby your way. And he's right. What Pete has also said is he'd like to run without magnets, but because some people who come round once or twice a year can't run without the magnets, he's put every single magnet back in every single car. It's not a binary choice. Have some cars for beginners. Have some cars for intermediate people that come round. And have the cars the way you want them for you. And maybe some more advanced friends. If you're going to say, I like running my cars without my magnets in, and then I've put all the magnets back in all of my cars for the people who come round once or twice a year, you're not doing your hobby your way. You're doing your hobby their way. Good chat.